Hey folks, Billboard Chart Guy here, and welcome to another episode of BBCG and Friends. And I'm happy and honored to have one of the karaoke legends of the Northeast with me, Danny from Billerica. Ricka. I can't even talk. How are you, Danny?
I'm doing great, Mr. Billboard Chart Guy. How are you?
Everything is good for a Thursday afternoon. We're doing well, and I really appreciate you coming on. Um, I want to get to karaoke, but we'll do that towards the end of
Sure.
the chat because I saw those videos from that video from Laconia, and boy, oh boy, I mean, Bruce Springsteen might have some competition moving forward. So that's all I have to say on that. So again, thanks for doing this. And you know, I've wanted to have you on. I appreciate the time here. Did you grow up in Billerica or somewhere else in the area?
No, I actually, and by the way, I want to preface this with, if you thought you were going to have somebody cool on, I am not your guy. So hopefully you're ready for a complete, loser nerd. So hopefully I had no high expectations there. I'm originally a South Shore guy. And so that's why
Okay.
my friend, I made the stipulation to my friend Blind Mike Sneakers when, I had my handle invented, a few years back. I said, I'm Danny in Billerica, not Danny from Billerica. So there is
Okay.
a very, I guess, conscious delineation there. No, I'm originally from Hingham. So I grew up with Robbie V just down the street in Hingham, Massachusetts.
Oh, okay. Interesting. And you knew him growing up?
Oh yeah, I knew him in kindergarten, and then we were in the same classroom in second grade. So not to date myself, but I guess I will. I guess we're talking 1989.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I've known him since 1987. I think. Yeah.
All right. The KMS Miniverse has some long tentacles, apparently. That just,
Well, it does, and Robbie V and we bonded over sports and wiffle ball. He always kicked my ass, but we always just we would listen to talk radio together. I mean, again, there's one check mark for the non cool column. But basically, so he and I would listen to WEI way back in the day. Big O and Mustard and Johnson and all those kind of shows, and then eventually Mutton Maloney, and of course Kirk and Callahan. So that was that's how we kind of had a pretty combined love for Kirk Minahan. And I think I sort of got more into the Minifan world earlier than Robbie V did, but eventually he jumped in, and he's king of the spaces.
Oh yeah, he and provides us with some locks every now and then as well. Locks that we take
Yeah,
advantage of when we can.
I
Yeah,
think he's above 500 this season, and he usually is. He's a winner.
that's great. Well, first of all, I'm a nerd as well, so maybe I'm just a more musical nerd than you. So no worries. So tell me about growing up and what were some of your early musical memories? Whether it was radio or listening to somebody's CDs or
Sure.
talk to me about all that.
So I mentioned the year 1987. That's also the first year that that's the year we got our first CD player in my house.
Okay.
And so get ready for how cool this is. My dad had a Vivaldi Four Seasons CD. I think back then, I think there was a CD for each season, so a pretty big deal. He had Brahms and Bach, Yo-Yo Ma, and Jimmy Buffett, the Little Mermaid soundtrack, and Fleetwood Mac. So we were allowed to listen to Fleetwood Mac. So Saturdays was Beatles and Fleetwood Mac. It was Saturdays was rock. Every other day of the week was classical. And then anytime I rode my mom's car, it was Oldies 103.3 FM. And eventually I kind of got her to move a little bit over to WROR 105.7, like a little bit more classic rock. But I never quite got her to ZLX. I eventually became a ZLX guy, but I heard Mikey Grabax talking about WBCN. That was verboten in my house. That was way too edgy back then.
So let me take a step back. So Saturdays with the Beatles and Fleetwood Mac. Are you still a Beatles fan? Still a Fleetwood Mac fan, or was that kind of just what was allowed.
Yeah, it's not. I'm honestly. I appreciate the Beatles. I don't seek them out very often. I enjoy them. I just they're not my favorites. They're a favorite in kind of my general household and family, which is I'm all for it. Just not my top one. I love Fleetwood Mac, and actually, it's probably my wife's in her top 3 favorite bands. We actually saw Christy McVie a couple of years ago at the harbor side, that little tent there in Southie. That was a really cool show. So yeah, definitely still love Fleetwood Mac.
That's pretty cool that you saw her. She passed away a couple of years ago. Is that right?
Yeah, because I think she got sick, and then I think we actually saw her when she was sort of recovering. And then she got sick again, and it was actually Kristen McVie with Stevie Nicks, but it wasn't the full Fleetwood Mac. They couldn't say Fleetwood Mac.
Okay.
But yeah,
Wow,
that was a great.
So what did they do? They did Fleetwood Mac songs, but they also did their solo stuff.
They mostly did Fleetwood Mac songs, which was great. I mean, they played to their audience, and I'm all for that. And I've heard Kirk talk about this. It's like, I get it. If you're really into a group, you want to hear the deep cuts, but I just I like, if I don't go to that many concerts, so when I go to one, I kind of like hearing the hits.
Yeah,
I'm sure they get sick of playing them, but it's like, you know what? You're the famous people. You make the money. You're famous because of these songs. Suck it up and play them. So I'm all for that.
Yeah, certain artists for sure kind of fall into that category, and I would say, folks like Fleetwood Mac, even like Billy Joel, and think about REO Speedwagon. I'm just rattling off some bands that you just want to hear the hits. You don't need Journey. Yeah. Stick. So now that you had the CD player in 1987, what did Danny first go out and want to listen to that was his own music?
That's a great question. So I wasn't really allowed to play. Well, I could play my own CDs on the CD player, but I finally got a Walkman in 1995, and I think that's the first time I actually bought my own CDs. Okay. I bought Green Day Dookie, and I bought so maybe it was a little bit later than that, 98 Green Day, and then Presidents of the United States of America.
Yeah,
the Peaches album.
Yeah.
So and basically,
Dookie came out in 94.
Okay, all right, so that lines up, I think.
Yeah.
That was the first CD I bought, and I bought it purely because I thought it was cool. And again, to reiterate, I was not, but it's funny because I actually sold that CD at a used CD store, and then a couple of years later, I actually decided I actually liked Green Day, and then bought a different copy, but bought it back again. But I bought those, then I bought Beastie Boys, and I actually grew to actually like the Beastie Boys, and of course my dad couldn't stand for it, so I had to listen to that with headphones on.
Which Beastie Boys rec or CD did you buy? Do you remember?
Well, the first one I bought, so Ill Communication obviously is the first one I bought, but the one I probably liked the most was Paul's Boutique.
Yeah, that's a sneaky classic for sure.
I love that one, and just the bass on the the opening track there, just pretty amazing. I bought that, and then I actually I did enjoy what's the one that Sabotage is on?
I forget the name of the album. I love Sabotage. That's the look. It is just you want to get fired up. Just put Sabotage.
Great album. It's one of those things that's like, I bought a bunch of tracks of white rappers, and then I'm like, these guys are actually really fucking good. I had a good time.
Yeah. That Presidents of the United States, was Lump on that album too?
Yes. Yep.
Yes. I had 2 hits, right?
Yeah, Lump and Peaches, and then I did buy their second album, which I think had Volcano on it.
I don't remember.
That sounds right.
Song.
It wasn't that good. The first album was great, and that's actually probably the first music video I watched on my computer was Peaches, where the ninjas jump out of the tree.
Yeah. Were you and your buddies listening to similar kinds of music? Like were you all kind of listening to the same stations and this kind of music?
Kind of. See, this is where I was such a poser because well, maybe I wasn't a poser because I eventually was when I started buying CDs because I thought they were cool. But I remember actively getting made fun of in like 4th or 5th grade because people would ask me about Insane in the Membrane, that kind of, like, they'd ask me about these, like, what was playing at the time on Jammin' 94.5, Kiss 108, WBCN, and I wasn't listening to any of those stations, so I was like kind of made fun of because I knew Beethoven and Miles Davis and Jimmy Buffett,
Right.
and I still like all those artists, and but back then I got made fun of for it.
Yeah, you have some wide musical palette for sure, from Beethoven to Miles to Buffett. Yeah, it's pretty broad.
I mean, I played the trumpet, so I enjoy playing classical and jazz. So this will be the part where Kirk really hates it because I actually do love jazz for real. I loved playing jazz. I still enjoy classical sometimes just to kind of relax and rest. I think for a while I sort of resented that it was always on in my house. I just remember eating Cheerios, as a first grader, sitting at the table listening to Brahms, and it just, after a while, it's like, all right. when I started, my friends were like, "What do you mean you don't know who Marky Mark is?" And I'm like, I don't know. It was basically, it was before the internet. I wasn't allowed to watch MTV. We didn't have cable, so like the only way to learn about these, like, quote unquote, like, cool things, whether it's back then it was not even SNL, but In Living Color. Like, I wasn't allowed to watch that.
Right.
So, people would be, talking about Fire Marshal Bill, and I wouldn't know what the hell they're talking about, and so I'm like, what's Cypress Hill? It sounds like a nice little, golf course. And they're like,
a nice little neighborhood somewhere.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
So I played trumpet too. So
Nice.
Yeah. And I used to listen to some jazz as well. My favorite when I was younger would be Dave Brubeck. Do you ever listen to Dave?
Take Five?
Yeah, Take Five. The great. Yeah.
I believe so. Billboard chart guy, wasn't that a #1 hit? Wasn't that the last jazz #1 hit?
Oh my gosh, it might have been. You're gonna have to make me do a little work.
But I feel like I know that, or I might have just made that up.
Well, we'll have to check it out here.
All right, we'll check the tapes after.
But but it's interesting. Like, so listening to jazz. So that I would dab. I'm not going to say I was a big fan, but you would dabble, right? And you would listen to Louis Armstrong, for example, or you would listen to Dizzy Gillespie.
I tried to actually tilt, basically bend my trumpet, and then my dad got mad at me because he's like, I spent $500 on something, you just messed it up. I'm like, but also Dizzy had a famously bad embouchure. He would just blow his cheeks out, and just,
that's right,
everything that they teach trumpet players to not do. Dizzy did. It was amazing. And it's like, it's like when you try to be Barry Bonds, it's like, dude, you're not Barry Bonds, you're not Dizzy Gillespie. Like, you can't do what these guys do.
Right. But it's interesting, right, when the worlds collide, right? So as I was like 17 or 18, I got into Stevie Wonder, and there was a big hit called Do I Do on the radio. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but Dizzy Gillespie played on it. And then when Sting went solo, he had this, soprano and alto saxophone player named Branford Marsalis in the band. And, though obviously with his brother had jazz roots. So it is interesting where there is the crossover. It's cool when it does happen and you're aware of it. Take Five got to number 25. That was the peak in October of 1961.
Okay.
So you're spreading falsities, Danny.
I apologized 1,000 times. I apologize.
No worries.
At least it was top 25. I mean, it wasn't,
That's right.
24 up. Yeah. There was a jazz. So I'll put it this way. There was a jazz #1, and I took a stab that might have been it. There was a jazz #1 hit around that time, and that was like, I just remember seeing on Twitter it was the last top of the charts.
I wonder if it was "Feel So Good" by Chuck Mangione.
I was going to say it was a Chuck Mangione because he just passed away, right?
Yeah, yeah. I know what that was.
And great. I mean, the best flugelhornist of all time.
Yeah, that album is amazing. And let's see.
And I said that unironically, not to be funny. That's but what a big nerd I am.
Sure.
I think he just went by flugelist.
He did.
Guns of Navarone is probably one of my favorite. It is my favorite flugelhorn song, but it's up there with my favorite brass song.
Okay. "Feel So Good" got to number 4.
Okay.
In 1977.
Still not number 1, but still that's pretty good.
We're getting close. We're getting close.
I mean, no way that will get anywhere near the top of the charts these days, right? I mean, it's great.
Yeah,
it's an amazing song. It's timeless. But
yeah. So what was your first concert?
Jimmy Buffett.
Classical or jazz?
Jimmy Buffett.
Okay.
Mansfield, Massachusetts, and I think the time it was still Great Woods. 1993, I believe it was. The Fruitcakes tour. So I told you, I whatever cool points I had are long gone. But my cousins, this was kind of cool. My cousins were about 10 to 15 years older than me. They still are. They would rent a bus. They literally rented a bus every year to go to Buffett. And I know that was sort of a thing for a while in the last 10, 20 years. But this was, again, this was 1993. Like no one my age. I mean, I was 11. So no one my age was listening to Jimmy Buffett. At least they wouldn't admit it. But right. We always listened to it in my house. And I remember my cousins got a bus, and my parents were like, my cousins were like, "Come on, Barb and Dick, like take Dan on the bus." And they're like, "I don't know if we should do that." And they probably shouldn't have, because I think I saw, I know I saw my first boobs.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we pulled in the school bus, and all my cousins got out, and I had never seen that much alcohol consumed. I had never seen people just suddenly build a bar in a parking lot and then put up a sign that said margaritas for bras. And then women came up and just started hanging up their bras and got margaritas. And I'm standing there like this preteen being like, holy shit. And I guess the concert was good, but that wasn't the main takeaway.
Yeah. Yeah. Clearly we know what the main takeaway was. Have you seen him a lot, or did you see him a lot, Jimmy Buffett?
Yeah. I probably saw Buffett 30 times.
Oh, wow. Did you travel? Did you ever travel for him, or was it all in New England?
It was always, so he, when I lived in San Diego, he famously hated San Diego, which I never really understood. He came to San Diego in 2005, I think. And I saw him out there when I was stationed out there. I saw him at Virginia a couple times when I was living down there. And then I think all the rest were at Great Woods.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never saw him.
Look, I get that it's cheesy. People think it's, kind of corny.
Right.
And again, I don't care. People can make fun of me all day long. I shed a tear when he passed away Labor Day weekend 2 years ago, which of course was sort of an ode to Come Monday, on the Labor Day weekend show, which he would always play that in Boston. Basically, actually, the year I saw him, I think he played in June, but every other year he would always come to Mansfield. Shout out Justin Trudell on Labor Day weekend.
Right.
And no, it was a great time. Like, I think some of it it did get like over the top cheesy, but it was sort of, so I'm going to really just pound on the nerd thing here. Growing up, I was always a Mac kid, like all the other kids at BCs, and my dad worked for Harvard, and he actually started their technical services division, and all the Ivy Leagues used Macs back in the late 80s. Right. And nobody else had Macs. They weren't compatible famously, and it just, they're expensive. But I always had a Mac in my house because my dad had one for work. So I was a Mac kid, from day one. And I bought some Apple stock way back in the day, and unfortunately sold it a little too early. But I always kind of associated Buffett with that. Like, Buffett was always sort of this, like, a little bit off the beaten path, like a little cheesy, but, in the end, like, solid. And if you go into some of his deeper cuts, Buffett's got some really good shit. He's got some crap too. But he's got some great songs, and he's the one artist I can just put on any time and just feel better. You know, so again, I'll take the Barbs, and you can, people can shit on me all day for liking Buffett, but he's a lot more than just Cheeseburger in Paradise and Margaritaville.
Yeah, well, I mean, clearly there was a huge contingent of fans every year going to see him. So there's definitely something more than just those couple of songs. So, did you ever see The Dead?
No, I didn't. I never saw that.
I was wondering if there's any sort of comparison with like the tailgating scene.
Probably. I mean, honestly, so Garcia died in what, 92?
95.
95. Okay. So yeah, so I've always appreciated The Dead, and I'm a big Ned Snark fan. I enjoyed your episode with him. I don't know, it just never quite clicked with me. But it might have been a timing thing. Again, if my parents loved The Dead, then I probably would have been Deadhead. It was just sort of like I kind of fell into the Buffett thing because of family. But I think there's crossovers there with sort of the attitude. Absolutely.
Yeah. I just
think the Dead are looked at, and maybe it's because of Jerry's passing, I think the Dead are looked at as better musicians, whereas Buffett was actually a really good musician, but just look at how he's parodied, and rightfully so. And I think he kind of went along with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What was your most recent concert, Dan?
It's actually been documented on the Kirk Minahan show. It was with Michael Montante at the Cape Cod Melody tent.
Oh my goodness, that is correct.
Yeah. Yep. And we
who did you see?
Blues Traveler.
Okay.
And who was the opener? The other guy. Oh Jesus. I'm just totally blanking. Gin Blossoms. Sorry.
Gin Blossom. Okay, Gin Blossoms open for Blues Traveler. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
So
Montante argued that there were more people there to see Gin Blossoms, and I vehemently disagree. But it was a great show. It was a good time, and the tickets were expensive, and I did pay for them both, for the record.
He doesn't owe you money. Is that?
No. He bought copious amounts of food and beverages that night.
Perfect. Okay.
And also we met up with Mick after, so that was fun.
What was that? Your first Blues Traveler show?
Yes, and I've always, that's, call it a nostalgia thing. I've always enjoyed John Popper, and it was really, I thought it was really cool to see him in person. I really enjoyed the concert. Gin Blossoms, I could take them or leave them. It was kind of cool to hear them live, but Blues Traveler and Popper specifically really made that show. Going back to Kingpin, but he's skinny now. He looks like Frank the Tank.
Well, that I have a theory that when in the early and mid 90s, probably even up to like 98, I must have seen that band 10 times. Loved if you talk about fun albums,
being a fan. You saw them in a festival, right?
Yeah, well, they organized what was called the Horde Festival, HORDE. I forget what it stands for. It was like in the mid 90s and probably went to like 2000. And they would have jam bands up there, and eventually you started getting bands like the Black Crowes and Counting Crows, and I think I saw Lenny Kravitz at one of these things, but I love them. Their first album to me is one of my favorite albums of the 90s. It's a self-titled album. It has But Anyway on it, which was the big song off that album.
Oh yeah.
But then of course they exploded with their fourth album, which had Hook and Runaround. But my theory is, Dan, is since he lost weight, they don't have the same magical musical powers.
Yeah.
I don't know what
saw them live back.
What happened?
So big, but
yeah.
Well, it's compared to a trumpet player. I think you could argue that somebody has an increased lung capacity if they lose weight, or it's easier to breathe in and out. But there's something to be said for having that gut, driving that air. In this case, through the harp, and I think there's somebody said for that. He's also getting pretty old, so there that may be an aspect as well. But I'm always I'm happy for as someone who needs to lose weight himself. I'm always happy for people personally when they lose weight, but it stinks when fat people lose weight. It's like famous fat people. I mean, you talk about, Kirk talks about the people who look weird, and I just think about like, Drew Carey. Like, good for him. He's probably going to live another 20 years, but fat Drew Carey was so much better than skinny Drew Carey. Nobody talks about skinny.
And fat John Popper was better than skinny John Popper.
Yeah, I didn't. Frank the Tank John Popper, skinny Frank the Tank John Popper is like, but it was still, it was one. It's the Cape Cod. Have you been to Cape Cod Melody Tent?
I have not.
It's got the rotating stage, so it's cool. So like basically everybody's got a great seat, and you see the entire band that rotates around a bunch of times, and you get to see everything 360. So
nice.
We get a good view, and then Montante tried to fight security on the way out, but that's a different story.
Shocking. What do you have a memorable concert or a favorite concert? It sounds like that one in 1993 could be it, but
yeah, it might be it. But I actually been to enough that I won't duplicate that. So I've enjoyed several concerts. So I'll give a couple runners up if I may, real quick.
Sure.
Aerosmith New Year's Eve in the Fleet Center in 1998. So I've seen Bruce a couple times, seen the Rolling Stones a couple times. I think in 8th grade, my mom dragged me, and I thought I was going to suck, and I loved it. So got to see some pretty iconic concerts. I saw Counting Crows in college. Probably my most memorable though was in college. Billy Joel came to the Georgetown campus, and it wasn't just a straight up concert. It was, you remember when he did the classical album with the pianist Richard Jew?
Yes.
And Jew being not the, not Israeli Palestine Jew, but
yes.
So, but the funny thing was he was doing a college tour, and it wasn't just a straight up concert. It was like an evening with Billy Joel. And it was first come first, basically general admission. So I had a friend who was a huge Billy Joel fan. She waited overnight to like get in the front row and was all excited for this like big concert in this, basically a hall. It's almost like a church, Gaston Hall at Georgetown. Beautiful with stained glass windows. We used to play, concerts there, in the band, pretty cool. But just, great acoustics and just an intimate setting. I saw Jesse Ventura actually lecture there when he was still governor of Minnesota. But we basically, my roommate and I kind of walked in at like the last hour and got front row seats in the balcony. Our friend Caitlin waited overnight and got front row seats. So she got super close to Billy Joel, which was cool. But we walk out of this, quote unquote concert / evening with Billy Joel, and she was pissed. She's like, he didn't play piano, man. He didn't play a song all the way through. I said, who gives a shit? He just sat up there on his piano and went through about 15 solo cups of whatever he was drinking, got hammered, talked about all his ex-wives. Once in a while would cue up Richard Jew to play a couple notes on the piano, and he'd play like 3 bars of Piano Man and be like, nope, not playing the whole thing for you guys. Fuck you. And just got pissed drunk in front of like, 2,000 people in this little hall. I loved it. It was, and maybe technically it's not even a concert, but it was probably my best like musical memory, of my life, of sort of a specific evening.
How long was it? A couple hours? Well, were you there for the whole thing, or you?
Oh yeah. It was probably 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, he sat there. He was just kind of playing the classical stuff, and everybody's like, whatever, he's got to play this. And then just was, they kept bringing these solo cups out to him, and he was just slamming them down. And eventually he's talking about like, getting hammered and pissing on his 5th wife and in Long Island or something, just like crazy shit, like stuff that these days would be all over the internet. But back then, I mean,
right,
nobody was recording anything.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
So speaking of recordings, let's bring it back to where we started.
Sure.
The night before Laconia last year, I wasn't there. I was home with FOMO. I did make it up the next night, but for the KMS show. But
yeah,
I was stunned in disbelief to see the performance that you provided all of us on Friday night. What now? Of course, me being 60 and my memory sucks, I don't remember what song you sang, but I do remember you controlled that stage and you were back and forth. Let's talk about that. What song was that?
America. So Neil Diamond.
Yes.
America.
Yes. Okay.
So here's my key to karaoke, and I assume you're asking me this, unless
yes.
Was there a follow-up question?
No, that's it. What's the key to karaoke?
So my key to, because I'm not a very good singer, but when I want to, I feel like I can perform. Like there's still that in there. It's it's fleeting. But I had Kevin from Bristol, compliment me after. So, professional actor. So I thought that felt pretty good.
Right.
But so the key to America, the key to perform. So I've actually won a few karaoke contests, but it's been with songs like America where there's a dialogue and you can vamp basically and make up shit, whatever you want. So, hello there, Laconia, New Hampshire, live free or fucking die. I'm Danny from Billerica, and I'm going to fuck this place up. And the people just go crazy. Like, it's not the words, but then you go on the boats and on the planes. And you just kind of, you gotta get the singing in there, but it's the performance. It's not, I think that's the mistake people make, because it's so boring to sit, unless someone's like really, really good at karaoke, like a really good singer.
Yeah.
By the second or third verse, it's like, all right, what are we doing here? Like, I don't want to sit here and listen to this guy. Like,
that's the hook.
Yeah, I'm on the fourth verse of Ring of Fire. Like, okay, great. You think you sound like Johnny Cash. Awesome. But when you got to get up there and, mix it up a little bit and have some fun.
You got to work the crowd. You got to work the room.
Exactly. So, and the problem is the secret's out. So I've got Roscoe and some of these people. Oh, Danny, when are you going to do karaoke again? It's like, now these people already know. The key there was nobody expected it. Like, that's why there's very little video of it. Nobody's going to like just video Danny from Billerica doing karaoke. So most of the videos you've seen, I think I've only seen one, so you may have seen more than I have. But
I saw the one, and it could have been
Montante one.
Montante, yeah. I couldn't find it.
That's like 23 seconds. So I mean, there's a lot you missed.
Yeah. Wow. Well, listen, you blew my mind when I saw that. So for all of us would-be karaoke artists, give us maybe your top 3 songs you like to perform when you're out there.
Yeah, so America's my go-to.
Mm-hmm.
That's my winner. And if I know I'm in a situation, like, you ever go to like one of those like the Korean sort of K-pop bars where they have the little rooms where you can do karaoke for an hour or whatever?
No.
You can sing 100 songs in an hour with your friends if you want. So you can just skip. So I'm not picky there, because you just kind of go through it all.
Right.
Get a little little Pearl Jam in there, and maybe a little Linkin Park, stuff that you wouldn't want anybody to see you sing in public.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew I had one shot in Laconia, so I went for my best work from
home run.
It's going to be America. I mean, look, this is going to sound cheesy, but I mean, Don't Stop Believin' it's a great karaoke song. And that talk about chalk, that's no secret. My favorite one, the one I'll do with my wife when I can convince her, which is rare, is Paradise by the Dashboard Light. We'll do the duet.
Okay.
That can actually be pretty good. You can sort of act it out.
Yeah.
And then here's the one, and actually I won one contest where you could actually dress up. And this, so I've gone from, again, like negative cool points times a million. So I don't care at this point. From the musical Cats.
Okay.
Memories.
Yeah.
You act that out if you're dressed like a cat. See, now that it's called a furry, so it's weird, but I did it back before that was a thing. Okay. And then I basically did it in a crowd and then just basically died at the end. That's the cat. And the place just went wild. It just went nuts.
Yeah. Listen, I think we just may have discovered the opening song for the show in March. Danny on stage dying as a cat after singing Memories. My God. Yeah. Wow. What a way to close this episode, Dan.
Yeah. I was trying to give you a good finish. There actually is a video of that somewhere that my wife claims one of her friends has. And I to this day, I still have not seen it. If it ever comes across my desk, I will be happy to share it with you, though, because I was pretty proud. I mean,
thank you.
3-time karaoke champion. By the way, 3-time air guitar champion as well. That is my secret talent.
The skills are never ending, apparently.
What can I say? I didn't even mention my composer skills. A couple of fight songs, a couple of jingles. But maybe that's episode 2.
That's it. We can regroup on that one in a future episode for sure. But listen, I wanted to thank you for doing this. Great chat. Really appreciate you doing this so late in the day here, and hope to see you in March in Laconia.
Yeah, likewise, Mr. Billboard chart guy. A pleasure connecting with you. Thanks so much for having me. I was surprised but honored that you invited me on the show, and it's a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you so much. And to everybody, thanks again for listening. And thanks to Kirk and Menners and everybody on the Minifan Network. And we'll talk to everybody real soon. Thanks.